It's interesting to me how leftists and pro-abortion activists try to paint Republicans as the ones that aren't willing to bend on this issue or aren't willing to have a conversation, when we're the ones that have been trying to come to the table to have conversations for decades. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for the support. On my channel, I like to give my opinion and perspective on things that are happening today, things that I think actually matter to everyday people, especially those of us trying to raise kids in the insanity known as today's society. Please like this video, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and also share it with others. Be sure you are subscribed so you can help me to grow this channel and hopefully reach more people that value logic, reason, and sanity. Also, be sure to find me on Rumble under Outspoken Samantha in the event that YouTube decides I have violated their community standards and chooses to kick me off their platform forever. That being said, let's get into today's topic. Ever since the overturning of Roe v. Wade, we have seen absolute hysterics from the left. We have seen absolute hysterics from pro-abortion activists trying to drive a particular narrative about what this means for abortion access across the country. What it really does is return this issue to the states to determine what abortion looks like in each state, if there should be restrictions or not. The left is trying to drive the narrative that this means Republicans are trying to ban it across the board, that they're trying to take away women's rights, that they don't care if women suffer, and what's next down the road? What other rights are they going to try and take from women? Which is really interesting because we're the ones that are trying to maintain women's rights across the board. We're trying to make sure that women feel safe and feel heard, whereas the only right that the left ever wants to amplify for women is whether or not they have access to abortion. Whereas if you're a woman that doesn't feel safe sharing a locker room or bathroom or getting undressed in front of a biological male, then you need to be quiet, you hateful bigot. Every once in a while, you'll see a story pop up about a woman that was having a miscarriage and their doctor supposedly denied them the treatment that they needed to evacuate the fetus from the body because they felt that this would fall under their state's restrictive abortion laws and could put their medical license at risk if they decided to help this woman, or a baby in gestation was diagnosed with a particular disorder or something that could be life-threatening or cause suffering, and their doctor denied them the option to deliver early or to have an abortion because, again, they felt that fell under abortion laws and that they could get in trouble if they tried to treat the woman in a way that they felt needed to happen. Every once in a while, these stories pop up, and what's interesting and what's consistent across the board in a lot of these stories is the vagueness, the fact that there is never any doctors named or facilities named as to where this happened. And also what's consistent in these stories is the fact that it's not that the law restricted the doctor from being able to do this, it's the fact that they personally felt scared to advocate for their patient or follow the next necessary steps that are outlined in the bill that would allow them to treat this woman in the way that she needs. So I came across this story in the Miami Herald, and the headline reads, "Her fetus had a fatal birth defect. She had to fly out of Florida for an abortion." Annabelle Lopez wanted a child more than anything, so the 44-year-old was ecstatic when she became pregnant last year, and then devastated when a doctor said her unborn child had a fatal abnormality. After a painful discussion with her husband and her doctors, Lopez decided to get an abortion. But she says undergoing the procedure in Florida proved to be complicated. A new law restricting abortion access had gone into effect days earlier, and Lopez soon found herself on a plane leaving South Florida to get an abortion at a clinic in Washington. When Lopez was 15 weeks pregnant, results from her genetic testing confirmed what an earlier blood test had indicated. Her child had trisomy 18, a genetic condition that affects how a child's body develops and grows. Her doctor explained that most babies diagnosed with the condition die before they are born or within 5 to 15 days after birth due to severe defects, said Lopez, who worked as a nurse for 14 years in Brazil. Lopez, however, says she found herself stonewalled by Florida's newly passed abortion law, which went into effect on July 1st. The law includes exceptions to save the woman's life, prevent serious injury, or if the baby has a fetal abnormality. 2 doctors are required to certify in writing that the abortion is medically needed. But her doctors, Lopez said, were afraid to write the necessary letters. They submitted exam results and articles about trisomy 18, she said, but did not write the letters confirming that she needed an abortion. In the article, it also talks about some concerns conservatives have discussed legislation to make it more difficult to have an out-of-state procedure as well. What they're really referring to is blocking federal funding for abortion travel expenses. So that is the hurdle that they're talking about, not using my dollars, not using taxpayer dollars to fund out-of-state travel. It doesn't name any doctors, it doesn't name any facilities, it doesn't point to any specific clinic that says this doctor in this situation refused to write this letter, because there is definitely an argument to be made that if doctors are interpreting the laws this way, that they should be called out and they should be reassured to say that if you had advocated for your patient and written the letters and followed the steps that are outlined in this law, you would have been able to treat your patient in the way that she needed. That these doctors consistently say that they're afraid to stand up for their patients, that they're afraid to go through these steps, when it clearly states that you are protected by following these steps. You need doctors to confirm that this is the condition the baby has, and you are going to be able to treat the situation in the way that you feel is best, because we don't want women to have to carry a baby that isn't going to survive. But we also, on the other side, do not want people to be able to interpret it to say that suffering means a baby that's born without a foot, or a baby that's born with Down syndrome, or has some other kind of abnormality where their baby isn't perfect, to say that this is a reason that I need an abortion. It's always interesting to me how leftists and pro-abortion activists try to paint Republicans as the ones that aren't willing to bend on this issue or aren't willing to have a conversation, when we're the ones that have been trying to come to the table to have conversations for decades, to get the left to recognize that this is a human being, because if it wasn't a human being, you would not be able to diagnose it with things like trisomy 18. But to come to the table and say there has to be restrictions with all of the science that has developed, with all, as far as we've come since Roe v. Wade was enacted in place, like, we've gotten so much further in our science and development that there's absolutely no reason to say that this is not a human being. There's absolutely no reason to make the argument that this is not a baby. What really doing is exploiting situations like this and using a woman's pain to advocate for what they really want, which is no restrictions, which is abortion at any time, any stage, for any reason, that it's okay to use it as birth control, that if for any reason a woman wants to walk in and get an abortion, that she should be able to do that. That is what they're really advocating for. And they try to blame Republicans for the restrictions of these laws. What they really are never going to admit is the fact that they brought this on themselves, that we have been trying to have conversations about this, that we've been trying to discuss when and how this should be available, what we can do to put safeguards in place to make sure that the rights of the baby are recognized, and also recognize when a woman really truly needs to have access to this kind of treatment and this kind of procedure. It's completely dishonest, it's exploitative, it's abusive to women, and it shows just the level of callousness and heartlessness, because these women, these activists don't care if you're suffering. They don't care if you are somebody that is having a miscarriage, or somebody that has a baby that was diagnosed with a fetal abnormality or a terminal condition, or if you're just somebody that wants to come in and have an abortion every single time they accidentally get pregnant because they don't want to use birth control. They don't care which end of the spectrum that you are on. It's just the fact that these situations are the easiest to exploit, versus if they were really honest about what abortion is actually being used for. Consistently denying the fact that women are using this as birth control, and only highlighting the cases where it might cause a problem for somebody that has experienced trauma or has a situation like this where a baby is not developing in a healthy way and might need to be delivered early, or to have this option to not carry through with the pregnancy. And then we have these feminists that deny what it is that women are celebrating when they do have unlimited access to abortions.
I made the distinction specifically because lots of people still celebrate. There are people who, when the laws were passed actually here in New York, they said, yes, great, yes, I love the fact
but
that...
you need to ask about what are people celebrating, right? They're celebrating access. We're not celebrating killing kids.
When in reality...
It's a body that's fine. Look at that baby that's celebrating death. You're celebrating death.
Abortion, I salute you! Women, if you need an abortion, get one! If you want an abortion, get one! If you're not pregnant but you think you eventually might be and want to order a future abortion, get one!
Thankfully, we do have former abortion care workers that will come out and talk about the things that happen in abortion clinics that the people that are still in this industry don't want the public to know. They expose the truth and they confirm the things that people on the right and that the pro-life activists have been saying for years.
And the mission and vision of Planned Parenthood, I was really strong about protecting women's right to choose and whatnot.
Basically, working in the industry, you learn a whole lot that you don't see just being on the outside. And once I really understood the agenda and watched what really goes on inside, I just felt ashamed to even be a part of that.
I saw a lot of horrific things. I participated in a lot of horrific things, and I've learned that I became really dark.
I saw a 26-week baby be born alive inside of our clinic and drowned in a toilet. I'm sorry to be graphic, but I'm being honest. And that's when my views definitely changed.
God Snell did a 30-weeker, and that really hurt me. Beautiful boy. He could have made it. He had a chance, and it was taken from him.
Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment. Please like this video, share it with others. Also, be sure you are subscribed to my channel. Hit the notification bell to be notified every time I post a video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.